This is what fast food employees get up to when they think no one's watching.
Bringing the good ants back up.
And it gets worse.
This needs to stop. Now!
From shocking behind-the-scenes intel on where your milk really comes from, to why, if you ever open a jar of Nutella that looks like this, you should panic immediately. Grab your forks as we dig into some of the most unsettling secrets the food industry would really rather didn't know. Let's kick things off with something seriously stomach-churning. From fries to milkshakes, your fast food combo might serve up more than salt and sugar.
Wow, nice.
Try mold, floor gunk, and actual bodily fluids. Caught butt-handed, this McDonald's employee was caught, no joke, rubbing her hands down her rear end before using that same hand to serve up fries.
My finger. Oh, what the hell is that? My ass.
She claimed it was just a prank filmed after hours, but corporate didn't get the joke and she ended up fired. Then there were these drive-in diner employees who proudly filmed themselves rubbing a burger bun on the filthy kitchen floor, then used it to make a customer's order. Gross. And over at Raising Cane's, this worker took petty revenge to new heights by stirring a jug of tea with her bare hands before casually pouring it into the serving dispenser. Disgusted yet?
This is disgusting.
Well, it gets worse. In 2022, a manager at an Arby's in Washington State admitted to urinating in the milkshake mix.
Be my guest.
And yep, he wasn't caught until after nearly 50 unsuspecting customers had already slurped it down.
God damn, it's a pretty good milkshake.
Around the same time, a Taco Bell employee reportedly posted a photo of himself peeing into a tray of nachos as a prank, like it was something to brag about.
Brother, ugh.
And if that's not enough to make you swear off drive-thrus for good, get this. Employees at Burger King and McDonald's have been caught wiping down tables with filthy floor mops and then drying them under the heat lamps at the fries warmer. Because who needs a health code, right? Then there are the employees who turn whistleblower and pull back the curtain on places they work. This employee revealed the shocking state of the fry station at an undisclosed McDonald's location clogged with fries looking like they've been there since TikTok was just the sound a clock makes. Another showcased the inside of a McDonald's ice cream machine oozing with black moldy sludge. Spoiler alert, it's supposed to look more like this. If you're wondering why fast food chains seem to be repeat offenders when it comes to this kind of mess, well, here's the part they don't like to advertise. Turns out it may not be the big name brand's fault. Not directly, at least. Most of your favorite fast food spots operate under a franchise model. That means individual locations are often run by independent owners. So when something shady or straight up revolting goes down, it's usually the franchise who owns the location calling the shots, not corporate HQ. The parent companies like McDonald's or Taco Bell hand over their name and brand playbook, but they don't micromanage the daily chaos. Still, when the same nasty behavior shows up again and again, and the top dog stays suspiciously silent, that's when it starts looking less like bad luck and more like a pattern. Either way, if you need a little extra motivation to stick to your diet, well, here it is. And keep in mind, these are just the horror stories that were caught on camera. Who knows how much worse it gets when no one's watching. So the next time you roll up to your local fast food spot, just remember, you really have no idea what's going on behind the counter. Here's some not-so-tasty food for thought. Many cows that are bred for livestock are fed field corn similar to chickens, and that's not a good thing. It's entirely unnatural for cows to eat corn. They have evolved over thousands of years on a diet that consisted of eating grass. So why feed them corn at all? Because it's cheap, abundant, and fattening. Corn helps cows bulk up quickly, which means they can be slaughtered sooner, saving time and maximizing profits for the beef industry. The process of digesting corn is unnatural to them, and if not managed carefully, feeding cows too much corn can cause serious health issues, sometimes even killing the animal. But it gets worse. There's a whole E. coli problem associated with this. For those who don't remember, E. coli is a bacteria that can in some cases be deadly. Cows actually produce a lot more of these dangerous E. coli strains in their gut when they're fed corn instead of grass. That's because corn changes the pH in their stomachs, creating the perfect environment for harmful bacteria to thrive. This poses a huge risk in terms of contamination of the meat we eat. How do they handle this problem, you ask? Beef producers often treat the meat with ammonia to try and kill the bacteria. Yes, the same ammonia that can be found in household cleaners. Scarily, it can comprise of up to 15% of fast food burgers. And it's all completely legal. Called lean, finely textured beef, you probably know it as pink slime. It's made by mincing up leftover beef scraps, blasting them with ammonia gas to kill bacteria, and turning them into a pink goop that's mixed into other beef products as cheap filler. While places like Canada and the UK banned it from anything but pet food, in the US it's fair game. And now, thanks to the USDA rule change, it can legally be labeled as ground beef without you ever knowing. On top of all of this, there's still something to be said for the treatment of cows who don't live a very great life before going to the slaughterhouse. They live in stressful conditions, are pushed to produce way more milk than they naturally would in the wild, and some veal are even saddled with heavy chains for their entire lives. Overall, it seems that cows have a pretty rough life, and it's even worse for dairy cows. But more on that later. If you're a fan of shrimp cocktail, buckle up, because once you see what really goes on in the shrimp industry, you might just change your mind. Let's just say some things are better left with both eyes firmly shut. Shrimp are grown in a type of farm which are actually crowded in filthy pools full of antibiotics, disinfectants, and pesticides. Many of the pesticides used, in fact, are actually banned in places like the US, yet are still used in overseas shrimp farms. These pools are so dense and dirty that many shrimp actually die in them. Not only that, many prawn farms slice open and cut off the eyes of female shrimps to make them breed faster, as it causes them to develop mature ovaries. This practice, called eye stalk ablation, happens in the majority of large-scale prawn hatcheries around the world. In some species like tiger prawns, the eye stalks can fully regenerate after a few months, but scientists agree that the shrimp show clear signs of stress and trauma when this treatment is performed. That's not all the problems with shrimp farms, however. This type of farmed shrimp also causes harm to the environment, like polluting nearby waters with chemicals. Plus, many of these shrimp farms have been linked to the use of forced or even slave labor. Next time you're feeling hungry for some shrimp cocktail, maybe first check where it comes from. Here's something I'll bet you've never thought about. The creatures that end up on our plates often look a lot different to how nature intends. Not just through genetic modification, but also down to how humans force them to live. Why? So companies can make as much meat and hence profit as possible. Intensive breeding turned these animals into what we would call super breeds, made to grow faster and produce more meat. We selectively bred them to accentuate preferable traits. For example, most people like white meat, so chicken breasts increased significantly over the years. The breast of a modern meat chicken, also called a broiler chicken, is 80% larger than of chickens from 60 years ago. See, wild chickens of old actually looked more like pheasants than the massive ones we have today. Take a chicken from 1925, for example. It usually weighed around 2.6 pounds before it was slaughtered at the age of 112 days old. Nowadays, they weigh around 5.7 pounds and are slaughtered after only 47 days. That's because we control all aspects of their short lives, which is pretty creepy when you think about it. They live a strictly regimented life in controlled and confined environments. Chickens are usually raised in close quarters so that they don't waste energy. That makes them grow faster and get bigger in a shorter period of time. But those conditions are also very stressful. That's the reason most farmers elect to clip or burn the beaks from their chickens. This is done to prevent the chickens from pecking each other to death. Yeah, that really can happen. But the shadiness doesn't stop once the chicken hits the grocery store shelves. Ever notice that weird red tinged juice in the bottom of the package? That's not just chicken juice, it's water. Most chicken breasts have been injected with it before they're even sold. And get this, tests have shown that some chicken and turkey meat are made up of up to 40% water. What? Poultry producers claim it makes the meat juicier and tastier, but let's be real, it's probably way more about padding the weight and boosting profits. My theory? They up the water injections big time when Thanksgiving's about to hit. Another shameful little secret from the poultry industry is that the label free range doesn't really mean much when applied to chickens. When we talk about free range, most people might picture happy chickens roaming around beautiful green pastures living freely. Sadly, that's rarely the case. Legally, free range simply means the chickens have access to an outside area. But here's the rub. There are no legal rules about how much space they get, how long they go outside, or what the outdoor area is like. In reality, so-called free-range chickens are raised in giant overcrowded sheds with a door to a small outdoor space. There are also no limits on flock size, so many are still so cramped together they can't even spread their wings. But one of the most rotten secrets? Companies in the egg industry don't have a use for male chicks. After all, they can't lay eggs. They aren't used for reproduction, plus they can't be bred for meat, for example, because egg-laying chickens are different than the type used for meat. In most large egg-laying facilities, male chicks are killed on the day they hatch, typically by being gassed or sent directly into industrial grinders. Shockingly, both methods are standard practices in the egg industry around the world. Who doesn't love cheese? It's delicious and it goes on pretty much everything. But what if I told you the cheese you're eating might not actually be cheese? Like, at all.
What?
If you look closely, it's all on the label. If a product is labeled as a cheese product, that's because it isn't real cheese.
That was a lie.
Large-scale dairy producers actually replace milk with processed milk concentrate or whey protein concentrate in many of their products. Why? To save money, of course. But here's where it gets interesting. When you start swapping out key ingredients like fresh milk, the end result no longer qualifies as actual cheese under FDA standards. So they legally can't call it cheese, hence the suspiciously vague term cheese product. And here's something to think about. The additives and protein concentrates used in these products might not only cheapen the cheese, but also make it harder for the body to digest it, sometimes causing more problems for people with lactose sensitivities than regular cheese. Some examples of these so-called cheese products include processed sliced cheese, cheese sticks, and some shredded cheese brands. And here's the twist. This kind of labeling trickery doesn't stop with cheese. While many products claim to be one thing on the front of their boxes, that's often just a marketing gimmick. The legal name usually appears in smaller print somewhere else on the box. And if you're wondering why they don't just say processed cheese instead, because food manufacturers know people love cheese and are willing to pay for it. Cheese product just sounds more like cheese than processed cheese does. Okay, get ready because what I'm about to tell you might ruin your breakfast forever. You know that magical creamy spread we all love? The one that makes toast taste like dessert and pancakes feel like a hug? Nutella. But what if I told you that those little white dots inside your jar aren't just crumbs? People online have opened their jars and found what they swear are bug eggs. And the photos, honestly, they're disgusting.
Oh my god.
Like, if you're eating Nutella right now, maybe put it down. Just saying. So what's going on here? Because this is too gross to keep looking at. Well, studies show that insects are more likely to lay eggs in chocolate with fruits or nuts thanks to the extra nutrients. So yeah, it's no surprise people are spooked. One person totally freaked out actually emailed Nutella to get answers. They reply, apparently if the spread gets too warm or too cold, the oils and sugar can separate and leave behind these weird white lumps. This is called sugar bloom, and you've probably seen it before on regular chocolate bars. But here's the thing. Sugar bloom is real, sure, but after seeing the pics, I don't know, something just feels off. Maybe it's fine, maybe it's not. But once you know this, it's kinda hard to dip your spoon in the same way again. When you really stop to think about it, it's kind of wild how outraged we'd be if dogs or cats were subjected to the same horrors animals in the food industry routinely endure. But here's the kicker. Pigs, according to some studies, are just as intelligent as dogs, maybe even more so. But trust me, knowing that won't make you feel any better about what I'm about to tell you. Male piglets are often castrated just days after birth, and it's usually done without any pain relief. Why? Because of something the industry calls boar taint. It's a smell and taste some people say they notice in meat from intact males. So to avoid complaints, they just cut it off. Not even pregnant pigs known as sows get preferential treatment at factories. In fact, millions and millions of pregnant pigs are actually kept in very small cages, usually called gestation crates. These crates are so small that the pigs can't even turn around. They also have slatted concrete floors, so all the waste the pigs eject just slides down to pits that are underneath them. With no bedding and no room to move, they often develop painful ulcers, abscesses, and sores. Some suffer from lameness and stress-induced behaviors like biting the bars of the crate over and over again. Not a nice image, is it? They spend 4 months inside these crates, which is equal to their full pregnancy. Sadly, sows will continue producing piglets destined to be killed for meat, and after just 2 years of life, she will meet the same fate. It's such harsh living conditions that many countries have actually banned gestation crates like the UK and Sweden. And let's not forget swine lagoons. Yes, that's what they're actually called. On factory pig farms, waste isn't manually cleaned up. It gets flushed into giant open-air pits filled with millions of gallons of pig feces and urine. These lagoons release clouds of toxic gas into the air, leak into rivers, and sometimes even flood into nearby towns. It's not just gross, it's dangerous. In the industry, they'd really rather you didn't know about it. Alright, so we've all heard how fiber is supposed to be the miracle nutrient, right? It's supposed to fix your digestion, keep you full, and even help with your heart health. But here's the crazy part. A lot of food companies totally take advantage of fiber science. Instead of adding real fiber from stuff like whole grains or veggies, they sneak in these weird synthetic fibers instead, like polydextrose. Sounds fancy, but guess what? They barely do anything good for your body. In fact, they can make you super bloated and gassy. You'll find these sneaky fibers in things like fiber bars, cereals, even ice cream that's high fiber. It's all just a big marketing trick to make you pay more for junk. So next time you see high fiber, flip the box and actually read the ingredients. Your gut will thank you for it. Love coffee? Well, you might want to think twice before your next sip. That warm, familiar brew, it's hiding a dark little secret. What you're really drinking could include fragments of, get ready, cockroaches.
That's not true. That's not true.
And according to the FDA, that's totally okay. But hold up, before you go imagining shriveled up roach bodies masquerading as coffee beans, it's not exactly that. Here's the creepy truth. Bulk coffee is stored in massive stockpiles, and those often get infested with cockroaches. They crawl in, live in it, die in it, and when it's time to grind the beans, well, they end up part of the mix. There's no realistic way to filter them all out, so they're ground right along with your morning pick-me-up.
Emotional damage.
This happens so often that the FDA actually has an acceptable limit of bug parts in food. For coffee, it's up to 10%.
None of it's true. None of it's true. It's BS. They made it up. They lie.
And it's not just insects. The FDA have determined that coffee can be contaminated with small amounts of molds, fungi, rodents, and even cigarette butts and chewing gum. Unsettling? Definitely. Dangerous? Usually not, unless you have an allergy. That's what happened to biologist Dr. George Hickerf. After years of working with cockroaches in the lab, he developed a severe allergy, meaning coffee grounds were off the menu forever. So the next time you take a sip, remember, you're not just waking up, you might be swallowing more than you bargained for. Okay, so we know food packaging is designed to mess with our brains. Bright colors, fun fonts, catchy slogans, it's marketing 101. But what if I told you there's another layer, a secret level of manipulation, one that's not on the label, but in the shape of the food itself? Let's talk Cheerios. Cute, innocent little breakfast rings, right? But why a ring? Why not a square or a blob or literally anything else? Well, turns out ring-shaped foods subtly suggest wholeness, like you're eating something complete, fulfilling, emotionally satisfying. It's a psychological nudge that says, this breakfast will complete you.
You will complete me.
And that's not all. Squares? Think stability, structure, comfort, and a clean-cut bite. Hello, chocolate bars. We trust those neat little blocks to deliver serotonin on command. Triangles? Bold, exciting, and balanced. Like convincing yourself you've earned that last slice of pizza or large bag of Doritos. Hey, the shapes speak for themselves. But here's another theory. What about spiral-shaped foods? You could say spirals suggest transformation or growth. Enter spiralized veggies, the holy grail of "I'm trying to get my life together" meals. But here's where it gets creepy. Even if designers aren't consciously doing this, what if the shapes are choosing them? Like some weird food-shaped mind control loop. Honestly, once you notice it, you can't unsee it. We all love popcorn. It's buttery, warm, nostalgic, practically a movie night requirement. But what if I told you that innocent bag of microwave popcorn might be hiding something dangerous?
What do you mean?
Enter popcorn lung. No, it's not a joke. Popcorn lung, or bronchiolitis obliterans, is a real irreversible lung disease. It got its nickname from a bizarre and terrifying outbreak among workers at a Missouri microwave popcorn factory in 2000. The cause? A chemical called diacetyl, used to create that signature buttery flavor. These workers were exposed to airborne diacetyl every day, and many developed severe lung damage. For years, it was still used in artificial butter flavoring in microwave popcorn, and while many major brands have since phased it out, diacetyl and similar flavoring chemicals still show up in foods, especially in cheaper or imported products. And there's zero warning label. Even if you're not a factory worker, breathing in that buttery steam has raised health concerns. In one case, Denver resident Wayne Watson won a lawsuit against a popcorn maker for $7.2 million after contracting popcorn lung. Wayne was eating around 2 whole bags of popcorn per day, so it's unlikely a person with a normal appetite for the stuff could have this problem. Even still, the FDA hasn't banned diacetyl, and these days it's widely used in vapes. So yeah, your vape might be free of tobacco, but it might have that same buttery death mist Wayne Watson choked on. Yum. Here's another truth I'll bet you've never thought about. Cows don't just magically produce milk. Like humans, they have to give birth first. That's right, every glass of milk starts with a baby cow. In the dairy industry, cows are kept in a constant cycle of forced pregnancy. Even worse, they're artificially inseminated, give birth, and then their calves are taken away. And the male calves? They're basically considered worthless. Many are killed almost immediately, sold for veal, or auctioned off to be made into cheap meat products, even pet food. It's brutal. But it doesn't end there. Once a dairy cow's milk production drops, usually around age 6, she's deemed useless and sold to the slaughterhouse. That's after years of non-stop pregnancy and milking. And keep in mind, cows can usually live up to 20 years. But here's where it gets really weird. Some farms use cannulated cows. That means they surgically cut a hole in the cow's side into her stomach and install a porthole. Through this, workers can take out or insert food samples to study exactly how the cow digests different food. The goal? Scientists say it's to help improve the health of cows, but others say it's really to engineer the most efficient diet to boost milk production to unnatural levels. Whether well-meaning or not, it's still disturbing, and once you know the truth, it's hard to look at that dairy aisle the same way again. Fast food. We all know it's not exactly healthy, but here's the twist. What if I told you it might not be the food itself that's the real problem? What if the real danger is in the packaging the food comes in? The wrappers, boxes, and bags your meal comes in might be harboring something more unsavory than you can imagine. They're called forever chemicals, and they might be in your next fast food meal. PFAS, or per-polyfluoroalkyl substances, are a group of synthetic chemicals known for being extremely resistant to breaking down. That's why they're called forever chemicals. They stay in the environment and your body for a very long time, 1,000 years to be exact. PFAS on a burger wrapper worked just like a waterproof jacket by creating a slick, liquid-repelling barrier. That's how fast food packaging keeps fry grease, sauce, and dressing from soaking through. These wrappers may look like harmless paper, but don't be fooled. They're designed to look eco-friendly, but spoiler alert, they're not. Scientists have found forever chemicals in packaging from McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell, Burger King, Sweetgreen, and the list goes on. Sure, the PFAS paper keeps grease from soaking through, but when it heats up, those same chemicals can seep out of the wrapper and into your lunch. But what exactly do these chemicals do? Well, PFAS exposure has been linked to immune system suppression, cancer, lower birth weight, and reproductive issues. So next time you grab a to-go bag of fries or unwrap a burger, just remember, it's not just the calories you need to worry about, it's what's wrapped around them. But don't think we should let the food at fast food restaurants off the hook. Picture this. You're about to enjoy a steaming bucket of KFC wings, and as you reach in, you pull one out that looks a little different. Looking closer, you start to notice something off. No, you're not dreaming. It's a whole chicken head.
Damn!
That's exactly what happened to a UK diner in 2021 who found a fully fried head, beak, eyes, and all right there in her meal from a branch in London. But if you think that's just a one-off nightmare, think again. Back in 2000, a woman in Virginia got more than she bargained for when she discovered a similarly deep-fried chicken head tucked right in a box of wings from McDonald's. But the craziest part? McDonald's solution was to exchange the tainted box for a fresh replacement, which obviously the customer declined. It's kinda mind-blowing, right? What does that say about what goes on behind the scenes? Are they really checking every single piece of chicken or just hoping we don't notice? Forget the brains behind those secret sauces. Turns out actual chicken brains might be slipping through the cracks. You might think the sketchiest stuff in the food industry happens in fast food kitchens, but what if I told you that the real horrors are happening far away from the public eye in massive food factories hidden behind warehouse doors? Former workers have revealed what really happens behind those warehouse doors, and it's darker than you'd expect. One former employee admitted that expired products were often pulled from storage, stripped of their best before labels, and slapped with fresh ones. But that's nothing compared to what can end up in your juice, or worse, your puree. Some former workers say puree is made from fruit rejected for frozen packaging, the moldy, underripe, debris-covered leftovers. If that puree fails quality tests, it's downgraded to juice where almost anything goes. And yet those batches still end up in products like iced teas, jams, and sauces with customers none the wiser. And in some factories, hygiene and safety regulations are questionable at best. One ice factory worker claimed that if the rake inside the ice machine got stuck, employees would physically climb on top of it, stomping around to break up the ice, all while the machine was still live and dangerous. They do this in dirty boots and clothing right on top of the product. How does this even happen? Well, food factories like this are often only inspected once every 3 to 5 years. So when management gets lazy and workers cut corners, things can spiral quickly. But one of the worst food factory jobs? Electricians in slaughterhouses. According to some accounts, they've had to climb through animal parts just to repair machinery. Speaking of the machines, the ones in food factories, they're brutal. Industrial mixers, conveyor belts, high-speed slicers. Working around these things on such a regular basis is bound to catch up with you at some point, even if you follow all the regulations. Workers have lost fingers, hands, even entire limbs in just seconds. Suddenly, those stories about people finding body parts in cans don't seem so crazy anymore. In 2018, a worker at a Smithfield Farms plant in Virginia was caught on camera urinating directly onto the pork production line, meaning the company had destroyed over 50,000 pounds of meat. But disturbingly, that's not even the worst incident. In 2023, at Harvey and Brockles Fine Foods, tubs of hummus and salad dressing were found contaminated with rubber gloves, plastic, metal, and even fish sauce.
Oh, DD, oh, what it is? Oh, DD, what it is?
It wasn't an accident. A worker named Gary Jones did it on purpose. He was later sentenced to 3 years in prison. So the next time you crack open a bottle or take a bite of something, just remember, you really don't know what or who went into it. Let's cap off with one of the biggest demons in food: sugar. It's bad for your teeth, it contains no essential nutrients, it can help you develop diabetes and all sorts of other problems. If you want to live a healthy life, it's all about consuming it in moderation, especially when it comes to added sugar. Today, we actually eat in just 8 days the same amount of sugar people from the 1700s ate over an entire year. And it's all down to food companies doing just about anything to turn a profit. Food companies don't want you to stop buying their products because they have too much sugar, so they devised a sneaky little solution. Some companies hide the true amount of sugar inside of a product by mixing up different ingredients. How? Well, here are some of the label names you'll see used instead of sugar: high fructose corn syrup, cane crystals, dextrose, evaporated cane juice, agave nectar, or fruit juice concentrate. All of these are forms of sugar or added sweeteners, just with different names. This way, companies make sure that sugar doesn't appear at the top of the ingredients list on the back of the box. That's because ingredients are listed by weight, and spreading sugar across several names makes each one appear less significant. These sweeteners are technically chemically distinct, so companies can get away with listing them under different names, but nutritionally, to our bodies, it's still sugar. It's almost like they're more worried about their profits than your health. Which of these food industry secrets did you not know before? Let me know down in the comments below. And before you bounce, check out this video, where we dig into even more ways the food on our plates has straight up hoodwinked us. And as always, thanks for watching.